I feel like I want to cry.
Why?
Just because it's like, it gives me anxiety. Because I'm just like, it makes you really like analyze just like where you're at. And then I'm like, sometimes like, what am I doing?
So was taking his last name a given? Were you positive that was going to happen, or did you think about that for a while?
It was a given. Yeah, it was just a given. It wasn't a thought.
There's certain patterns to break.
And you think choosing bad partners is like a genetic thing?
I cannot handle and be around you when you're just a bitch. Your words have meaning and they come.
A wedding series that resembled a worldwide spectacle rather than a family gathering. A whirlwind romance that transformed neighbors into soulmates, and unexpected proposals arranged like movie sequences. Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker were suddenly hailed as the ideal couple after making a baby announcement that went viral right away. Fans pointed to the type of relationship and remarked, "That is how forever looks." However, the reality of Hollywood fairy tales is straightforward. The shadows are more difficult to conceal in a brighter glare. And those shadows are beginning to appear for Travis and Kourtney. Because there is another side to this story hidden behind every flawlessly framed Instagram picture and every glitzy TV moment. One that is more about pressure, uncertainty, and the burden of living under scrutiny than it is about passion and unending love. This type of tension persists even after the cameras stop recording. It only gets worse if anything. Now, fans who formerly trusted the fairy tale are posing more challenging queries. What occurs in a newlywed marriage when past errors reappear? What happens when romance and familial loyalty clash? And how can two individuals stay together when everything around them feeds on tearing them apart? The cracks are no longer invisible to Kourtney and Travis. The persistent need to maintain appearances, resurface controversies, and whispers of jealousy are starting to paint a completely different picture. One that is far less picture-perfect, messier, and more intricate than what has been marketed to millions of internet followers. One thing therefore becomes evident as we dissect their romance. This is not merely a romantic tale. In a world where even the strongest relationships can fall apart in front of everyone, it is a test of survival, loyalty, and trust. The internet nearly blew up when Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker initially declared they were more than just pals. Their relationship had subtly developed into something more after years of living in Calabasas, only a few homes apart. Additionally, the pace was unrelenting when the romance was public. They were no longer just another famous couple all of a sudden. The pair were them. Everyone was witnessing the real-time development of the love story. The proposal was the first step. Travis got down on one knee on a gorgeous California beach with hundreds of roses in the shape of a gigantic heart. The scene might as well have been lifted from a romantic movie. The dazzling sunset, the roaring waves, and the dramatic eyes that were photographed from every angle. In just a few minutes, images and videos became viral on all platforms. It was described as magical in headlines. Fans gushed that Kourtney had finally found her happy ending. A new fairy tale was being created, and many who had never followed the Kardashians suddenly became interested. However, the proposal was only the first step. What followed was a flurry of festivities that made it difficult to distinguish between significant life events and world happenings. There were multiple weddings. 3 were present. An impromptu Vegas ceremony, complete with Elvis impersonator. A wedding in a Santa Barbara courthouse. Then the big showdown at a lavish Italian party on the Riviera, complete with Dolce & Gabbana designs and held in a castle. Every suit, every kiss, and every vow felt manufactured for maximum effect. It was more than simply a marriage to the supporters. That it was a moment of culture. Their mixed-race families appeared to be a perfect fit for the story. Travis's children from his previous marriage bonded with Kourtney's children, and posts about how well the households blended together flooded social media. It appeared effortless to the outer world. It was almost too easy. Then the final chapter arrived. Kourtney's pregnancy was made public. It was presented as a joyful announcement. Additionally, the 2023 birth of their son Rocky was positioned as the climax of their romance. By this time, the couple's image had moved beyond reality TV rumors and was now a representation of genuine love discovered in later life. The reality that emerges when the confetti clears, however, is rarely taken into consideration in fairy tales. Furthermore, the flawless ascent was just the start of even more difficult obstacles for Travis and Kourtney. Every romance has a backstory. Furthermore, the past is never truly forgotten in Hollywood. When old stories, forgotten interviews, and reviving memoirs started making their way back into the news, the radiance of Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian's brief affair started to fade. Travis' own statements were among the first to break. Travis claimed in his memoir that he thought Kourtney's younger sister, Kim Kardashian, was attractive years before he and Kourtney ever started dating. That it could have appeared to be a harmless confession on paper, an incidental detail in the epic tale of a rock star. However, in the harsh realm of celebrity journalism, such things are never forgotten. They are enlarged. And they were exaggerated. The tabloid started rehashing old allegations that Travis had more admiration for Kim than he acknowledged. Shauna Moakler, his ex-wife, maintained that inappropriate behavior had occurred during their marriage, even implying infidelity. Travis refuted such allegations, maintaining that it was merely innocuous banter and that he never pursued the attraction. For Kourtney, however, the distinction was more nuanced. Because it is impossible to ignore the germ of doubt when the world is always reminding you of your partner's past, especially when that past involves your own sister. There was now a tinge to what ought to have been peaceful family meals. Headlines were created from glances across the table. Online whispered rumors turned into unanswerable queries. In order to keep the fire going, fans also contributed. Debates on social media erupted. Was Travis' admission a sign of fresh candor or a warning sign? His devotion to Kourtney seemed sincere today, so did the past truly matter? One fan was analyzing past interviews, screenshots, and claims for every fan justifying their love, perpetuating an unending loop of skepticism. These fissures were not limited to her husband's background, according to Kourtney. They dealt with her personal relationship with her sister. The conflict between devotion and rivalry has always existed within the Kardashian family. And all of a sudden, Travis' earlier remarks fueled that flame. What appeared to be innocuous nostalgia now felt like unresolved issues. Additionally, the past had a way of infiltrating every aspect of the present for a couple attempting to create a future. Personal turmoil never stays personal in the Kardashian universe. If there is one thing that is constant, almost invariably, what occurs behind closed doors, at the dinner table, or in text messages ends up in the public eye, and that attention has been particularly harsh on Kim and Kourtney. There has always been a mixture of rivalry, competition, and affection in their relationship. On reality TV, viewers have been watching it unfold for years. Business-related disputes, acrimonious arguments about family priorities, and ongoing disputes over who sets the tone for the Kardashian company. Sometimes they made amends. They hardly spoke at times, but past scars did not go away when Travis came around. They got deeper. Travis's admission that he thought Kim was attractive was not the only problem. It was the way the sisters' already shaky relationship was impacted by that past. All of Kourtney and Kim's interactions were suddenly reframed using this new perspective. One could interpret Kourtney's kind birthday greeting as a sacrifice for peace. Kourtney's Halloween costume in which she dressed as Kim might be interpreted as a deliberate shade or as a fun remark. As fans analyzed body language and captions like detectives looking for hidden meaning, online arguments erupted in hypotheses. It was not helped by the Hulu show either. Dramatic confrontations, extended close-ups, and mysterious voiceovers hinted at a larger plot point that was simmering beneath the surface of the trailers. Everyone was reminded by the editing that this family's unity is always brittle, even if the sisters did sit down for reconciliation on TV. This was more than just sibling rivalry for Kourtney. Her marriage and her family's reputation were at odds. Each time Kim's name was brought up in regard to Travis, it posed a threat to the two relationships. Her sister is on one side and her spouse is on the other. Furthermore, even sincere attempts at peace felt like part of the show in a household where every disagreement is resolved. It was an amusement to outsiders. Kourtney considered it her life. Her union. Her family became entangled in a single, uncontrollable plot. One thing was evident even as fans argued about whether these incidents were planned, petty, or humorous. The sisters' conflict was not merely a supporting storyline. This darkness followed Travis and Kourtney into their marriage, making it more difficult to maintain a bond that is already brittle. Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker's public demonstrations of devotion initially seemed almost envy-inducing. Social media photos brimming with emotion, kisses on the red carpet, and hand-holding at every event created the impression of a pair who were unable to keep their hands off one another. It was evidence of great love for fans. Unfiltered, fiery, and hard to fake. But eventually, that same desire began to cause problems. How much is love and how much is performance when every contact is aired to millions of people? Were they truly engrossed in one another? Or were they attempting to convince themselves and possibly the rest of the world that the romance was still as strong as it had been from the beginning? Whispers became louder behind the veil. According to family-friendly sources, Kourtney was increasingly focusing her life on Travis. Everything seemed to change in his favor, including her diet and clothing choices. Fans previously hailed the metamorphosis as a glow-up since it was so remarkable. However, with time, that light started to resemble compromise. Some questioned whether Kourtney was shedding aspects of herself in order to blend in with Travis' world. According to reports, even her relatives noticed. According to insiders, Kim in particular believed Travis was dragging Kourtney away from the family as well as from the self-assured independence she had cultivated over the years. Kourtney did not seem to be changing in Kim's opinion. She appeared to be giving in. Additionally, although Travis frequently gave off the impression of being composed and loving in public, there was a developing sense that he was in charge of the relationship. Kourtney adjusted to him, but his tastes, schedule, and career seemed to set the tone. This imbalance was not overlooked by a woman who had always taken pride in doing things her own way. Therefore, the reality behind closed doors might have been much more complex than the sultry Instagram pictures that made people swoon. Because love can occasionally appear to be control and passion to be power. Furthermore, relationships rarely end amicably when they start to veer too much in one direction. Fans anticipated business as usual as Travis Barker and Blink-182 returned to the tour. Screaming audiences, packed arenas, and the resurgence of the punk rock fervor that catapulted him to fame. However, things were different this time. He was no longer only a touring drummer, but he was the father of a newborn, a stepfather, and a recent bride. And he was not going it alone as he used to be. What should have been a career turning point was turned into a test of how well Kourtney and baby Rocky could handle life on the go when they joined him. The optics seemed good at first. Kourtney happily shared pictures of their family trip, while another rock star blended celebrity and family by taking his son backstage. Fans saw it as further evidence that they had created a unique couple who would not allow distance to separate them. However, tension was building beneath those well-planned moments. Even in the best of situations, touring can be exhausting. Calm is scarce in the midst of the turmoil of performing in a new location every night, long flights, late nights, and continuous sound checks. A pressure cooker was constructed when a newborn and other kids were added. Although Kourtney appeared ready to put on a united front, onlookers observed that Travis's body language frequently sent a different message. Fatigued, distracted, and even irritated. Valentine's Day turned into a pivotal moment. The couple celebrated separately rather than together. Kourtney is staying in Sydney with the children, while Travis is traveling. The incident was quickly picked up by tabloids, who portrayed it as a metaphor for more serious problems. The image was difficult for admirers to ignore. The most romantic day of the year was suddenly out of the question for the once inseparable couple. Kourtney was really worn out, according to insiders. She relied largely on her inner group for support as she dealt with jet lag, taking care of a newborn, and attempting to keep up with her life. What was supposed to be a time of bonding soon devolved into tension and separation, and it was hardly a relief when the tour was over. A question mark appeared. What did it mean for the remainder of their marriage if living on the road tore them apart? For most couples, getting married entails creating a common residence. One bedroom, one life, one roof. However, things have not gone as planned for Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian. The couple has continued to live in different homes across the street from one another despite numerous weddings, a newborn, and a flurry of family milestones. The theory seems plausible at first glance. Each had a room, a house, and a sense of security that they did not want to disturb, and both had kids from past marriages. Kourtney has stated repeatedly that she did not want to force her children to adjust to a blended family all at once, but rather to preserve their routines. She presented it in interviews as a deliberate choice, evidence that the pair was putting family harmony first. However, the arrangement caused some admirers to take notice. Why would a once incompatible pair decide to distance themselves? Why were they sleeping under different roofs after such public demonstrations of intimacy? Although the solution could have been pragmatic, the visuals conveyed a different message. For many, it appeared more like separation than stability. Kourtney's admission that she frequently shared a bed with her daughter Penelope, rather than Travis, and characterized it as cozy and instinctive only served to stoke the rumors. What did that signify for her marriage? Outsiders wondered. Were they truly creating a future together? Or had parallel lives already begun to float into the fairy tale? For his part, Travis played off the worries. He highlighted the link that held both houses together, their Sunday family dinners, and their shared rituals. However, it was difficult to portray two newlyweds living apart as natural in a society where every detail is examined. Fans could not get rid of the impression that it exposed something more profound, even though Kourtney maintained that the arrangement worked for their family, because it is unclear whether a couple's decision to live apart after initially appearing to be inseparable is an indication of maturity or the silent start of a breakup. On the surface, the narrative of Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker appeared to be a fairy tale for the cameras, complete with a fast-paced romance, extravagant weddings, and a child's birth that seemed to finalize their union. For a moment, it seemed to demonstrate that true love was stronger than all other forces, even the turmoil of celebrity, family strife, and past transgressions. However, when the layers are removed, a new image begins to show. Shadows are still thrown by old ghosts from Travis's past, the memoir confessions, his reputation as a cheater, and his enduring relationship with Kim. Kourtney's rocky past with her sister exacerbates the situation by making private hurts extremely public and transforming family gatherings into tabloid fodder. The relationship between the two comes next. There are rumors that Kourtney has been altering herself to fit in, and some fans are now wondering if the almost continuous public demonstrations of care and passion are actually romance or acting. Travis's world only serves to highlight the idea that power and balance in their marriage might not be as equal as they seem. Those fissures were exacerbated by the Australian tour. The rigors of travel, long nights with a newborn, and physical distance seemed to drive them farther away rather than closer. Valentine's Day, a holiday that represents love, even served as a reminder of how disjointed their lives had become. The truth of their home life comes last. Kourtney and Travis continue to live across the street from one another, despite the fact that most newlyweds envision creating a single family. It makes sense to them. To outsiders, it looks like a silent hint that proximity isn't as straightforward as they originally made it seem. What does this so-called fairy tale then mean? Are Kourtney and Travis merely navigating the regular ups and downs of marriage, only accentuated by the cameras and the Kardashian name? Or are we seeing the gradual disintegration of a love tale that blazed too brightly and too quickly? There is no doubt about that. The story of this family never really ends. It is your time now. What are your thoughts? Are Travis and Kourtney strong enough to weather the storm, or does this mark the start of the end? Remember to subscribe and leave your opinions in the comments section, because there is always something new to discover about this couple.